folks, Scott here with the new My Monthly Hero November 2023 Classic and Premium Kits. Our 8x10 zippered pouch is stuffed full this month. We are staying on the holiday theme, and we have all sorts of supplies to fill out our holiday card collection. Here's our little backer card. We'll dig right in. In our Classic kit, we get a 6x8 stamp set. This is a mail art clear stamp set with lots of mail art pieces to it. We've got little letters over here, delivered by Owl Post. There's a mailbox over here with presents and presents. Owls. We've got a number of owls. This here obviously appears to be a Harry Potter owl. We also have some mice. There's a mice silhouette and some owl silhouettes. Those look like bird tracks. These are little, looks like stamp outlines. That's our 6x8 clear stamp set. We of course get matching dies for all of those images. In fact, we also have matching dies for the sentiments. I love it when they give us sentiment dies. There are also 2 postage frame fancy dies. So there's a big one right here, a smaller one right next to it. Then we get a sheet of hero transfers. These are all sentiments, just straight cut sentiments. Have a jolly holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Wishing you a Merry Christmas. Warm wishes, Happy New Year, season's greetings. May your days be merry and bright. These are rub-ons. Cut those out, rub them on, white on black. You, of course, do get our little popsicle stick for rubbing. And then here's something we hardly ever get from Hero Arts. We've got 27 assorted envelopes in red, craft, and white. Red, craft, and white. So we've got A1, which is like a little thank you card, A2, which is your 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and A7 sizes, which I believe that's for a 5x7 card. 9 of each, that's 27 envelopes. We also get 10 sheets of blank washi paper. These for stamping and die cutting, and I think you could just about do almost anything you like with washi sheets, blank washi sheets. I don't think I've ever gotten blank washi sheets ever in my life from anybody. We're gonna leave that right there. Then, last but not least, we got 4 wax seal stickers. You know that making our little wax seals is kind of a thing these days. We've got some nice teal ones that say Happy Holidays. We've got nice purple ones, obviously, for Libby, that say Merry Christmas. And they, of course, have 3M adhesive on the back. Just peel those off, and you can stick them right down. They're very thin. Oh, my goodness, that's everything in the Classic kit. We haven't even started on the Premium kit. So with the Premium kit, we get another stamp set. This is the Peeking Critters stamp set, a 3x4 stamp set. Looks like we've got a mouse and a bear and a penguin, although I suppose that could be an owl, and a little raccoon, it looks like. We've got a nice speech bubble, sending love, hello there to you, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas. Again, with the little peeking images, it's definitely a theme going through Hero Arts this Christmas season. And we also get 2 color layering snowflake stencils. There you go, I think you can see that. So there's a nice open snowflake stencil and then a detail snowflake stencil. 2 more sheets of hero transfers. These are all gifts and decorations. Some little lights or garlands and all sorts of gifts. There's 2 of these in here. And then last but not least, we get 2 ink cubes, the Hero Hues Reactive Pool Party and the Hero Hues Core Ink in Mist, a really light blue. So much stuff in our kit this month. This looks like fun. Plowing through with the holidays. We'll dig right in. And here we have my 10 cards for the month. Everything on a white card base. We've got a couple of different sizes of cards this month, of course. As usual, I will do my first 5 cards using the ingredients in the Classic kit, just the Classic kit. Now, I don't think I've ever seen blank sheets of washi tape, washi paper before. My first instinct was to stamp one of those sheets with a full pattern background stamp. This is a Love from Lizzie candy stripe background stamp and the Hero Hues Crimson Core ink. You know, I can be very literal sometimes, and I figured that this could be cut into strips like washi tape. Now, I was really looking forward to some coloring this month. We've got lots of image stamps in our stamp set. Of course, sometimes when we get lots of smaller images, sometimes my mind starts thinking of scenes, you know, combining smaller images together for something a little bigger, perhaps. So for my first card, we've got Who's Got Mail? I thought these two owls fit on the mailbox perfectly. So I stamped them both with my Hero Arts Intense Black ink, very simple straight line mask to disappear the owl tails behind the mailbox. I colored these all with my Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. Here's a quick shot of the colors I used. Lots of colors, but there's lots of different packages and everything here. I did add some texture to the owls with a white gel pen, and I used some colored pencils for the letters in the mailbox and a little blending on the owls. I did do some partial die cutting to keep the owls and the mailbox together. There's a pretty straight line where those stamps intersect, so the die cutting was pretty easy. I cut a scrap of white cardstock to 1 3/4 inches by 4 1/4 inches to go behind the mailbox, and I took the large stamp die in the kit and partially die cut it twice with some striped pattern paper, giving me an approximately 2-inch by 4 1/2 inch mat to go behind the white. And then I cut a 2 1/8 by 4 5/8 inch black mat to go behind that all. I attached the mailbox on top with foam tape, and I glued that all to an A2 white card base. I stamped the sentiment on a scrap of white cardstock with Intense Black ink, and I did emboss that with some clear embossing powder, so there's a little texture and a little bit of shine to that. I die cut that with the matching die along with 3 more blanks, and I glued them all together for a nice chunky die cut sentiment. I glued that to the mailbox post, and then 2 1/2-inch strips of my stamped washi tape finish out the front of this card. That red and white diagonal stripe has echoes of airmail or international postage. That's a nice touch. This would be a fine Christmas card, but it could also be used for a winter birthday as well. I didn't specify. Who's got mail? I did think that it was kind of funny that we got owls and mice in a stamp set together. Talk about a predator and their prey. I gamely resisted all of my darker instincts and vowed to keep the holidays cheerful and light and avoid any carnage. My next card is a Merry Christmas card. Special holiday delivery from the mice in our stamp set. We've got more stamp combining here. I did do some careful masking for this group. I stamped the mouse with the heart first, Intense Black ink on Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I cut a mask for his bottom, his feet, and his tail, and then I stamped the package underneath him. I masked off the left side of the package, quite easy, and stamped the mouse with the bow. Then I stamped the dashed line box with Hero Arts Crimson ink, lining it up with the aid of the stamp die. I colored all with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, adding a bit of horizon and sky as well. Then I stamped and embossed the special holiday delivery and die cut the whole image with the square stamp die. I stamped the sentiment on a scrap of white cardstock, embossed it with clear embossing powder. I die cut the sentiment and 3 more blanks and glued them all together. I have this piece of pattern paper. I really like this, found it in my stash. It's 3 1/2 inches by 5 1/2 inches. I used a scalloped heart border punch on the 2 edges. I glued that down to the center of a white A2 card base, glued the sentiment flat to the card front, and added the stamp with foam tape. Finally, I took a little Fimo clay heart and glued it over the stamped heart that I had stamped black because I wasn't thinking about it. So I glued that over the stamped heart right above the mouse's head. This is an adorable little scene special holiday delivery. Merry Christmas. Then, of course, there's that mom and baby owl. Those are probably my favorite images in this whole stamp set. I decided to give them a little bit of a special treatment, and we have a warm wishes card featuring that mama and baby owl on it. I stamped the pair intense black ink on some Bristol smooth cardstock, and I lightly sketched in a tree for them to perch on. I painted all with my Zig markers, giving the owls a little blue halo for emphasis, and using a white gel pen for some texture and highlights. I lightly spattered some snow all around using last month's super opaque white acrylic spray. When everything was dry, I trimmed the painted panel to 3 inches by 4 3/4 inches, added a blue mat that's 3 1/4 by 5 inches, and a thinner black mat, and glued them all down to a white A2 card base. The sentiment is rubbed on to a scrap of white cardstock and trimmed to size, then attached it to the card front with foam tape. I love this very painterly approach to these cuddly owls. Warm wishes. Again, this could be a Christmas card. Doesn't have to be, though. So then, instead of the natural owls versus mice conflict, how about an expression of solidarity, or dare I say, even love? And we have Owl, My Love. This tickles me. Again, both images are stamped with intense black ink on Bristol smooth cardstock, colored with my Zig markers. I thought that the Wishing You Owl the Joy from our stamp set was a little clunky. Now, wishing you all the best, I've never heard anybody say wishing you all the joy. So I just cut the owl away from that and started fiddling with my own all puns. I stamped the owl below our image. Then it was a simple matter of printing My Love using the Silhouette software and the Arial Rounded MT bold font. I got that slightly off center, but the glitter heart to the left helps. I printed that on the colored panel before cutting it down. I die cut the image with the Tonic Studios Scalloped Square Layering Basics die. That's 2.5 by 2.5. I matted that on a piece of red dotted pattern paper. That's 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. And a thin 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 black mat. I masked off 1 inch on each side of an A2 card front, and I blended the Simon Says Stamp Falling Hearts stencil with crimson ink down the center. I defined the edges of the stenciling with some Love from Lizzie red glitter peel-offs. I attached the matted artwork at a jaunty angle using some foam tape, and I added the 2 Love from Lizzie red glitter hearts. The owl seems slightly embarrassed by this profession of love, or maybe he's just trying not to eat the mouse. All my love, owl, my love. Now, the one big flying owl in our stamp set is wearing a scarf. Seems everybody takes that to be a Gryffindor scarf, and the owl then to be Harry Potter's Hedwig. Okay, I can do that. For my next card, we've got Delivered by Owl Post. So I stamped the owl, the package, the feathers, and the envelopes on some white cardstock using Hero Art's soft granite ink. Since Hedwig is a white owl, I colored everything very lightly with colored pencils. I added a lot of feather detail to Hedwig's wings, and of course, colored the scarf in red and gold. I die cut all the images using partial die cutting to keep the owl and the package together. Again, a straight line there, so it was very easy. I think the trail of letters here suggests the Weasleys' accident-prone owl. I think, his name's Errol, I think. I cut a panel of pitch black cardstock to 5 1/4 inches by 4 inches. I spattered some stars on that panel using the super opaque white acrylic spray from last month, and I glued that down to a white A2 card base. I grabbed the castle die from the My Monthly Hero August 2019 kit, and I die cut that into some dark gray cardstock, extending that to 5 inches wide and adding some ivory card behind the windows. The moon is created using the Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous Moon Mask Layering Stencil on light gray cardstock, inked with some of that soft granite ink, and die cut with a Hero Arts Nesting Circle Infinity die. I glued the moon and the castle flat to the card front, adding the owl silhouette stamp over the moon. I stamped the sentiment with Hero Arts Unicorn white ink, embossed that with white embossing powder, Finally, I added all the die cuts with foam tape. This is very Harry Potter. So to keep this in the realm of holidays, I did stamp the "Have a Magical Christmas" inside the card. That finishes the card up nicely. This is a perfect for any Harry Potter fan. And that's all 5 cards using the classic kit. There are more stamps in this set, but I almost covered them all. Now we can dig into the premium supplies. My eyes immediately went to the layering snowflake stencils. Now I wanted to feature that entire stencil, so I cut out a piece of Nina Solar White cardstock to 5 1/4 by 6 1/2 to match the stencil, and I used the mist ink for the first open layer, and this is what we came up with, a nice Winter Wishes card. There we go. There's that sparkle. Again, I used the mist ink on the open layer of the stencil, and then I used that pool party ink on the detailed layer of that stencil. I also ink blended the mist ink around the edges of the panel. It's quite simple stencils actually, but really very pretty results, even though there is an 8-pointed snowflake down here. One of my pet peeves, but there is 8 points. Everything else is 6 points. I couldn't bring myself to lose any of the snowflakes here, so I decided to make a 5 by 7 card. Actually, since this was already cut to 5 1/2 by 6 1/2, I made a 5 by 6 1/2 inch card. It fits the A7 envelopes just fine. I glued the inked panel down to a 5 by 6 1/2 inch card base. Now, I don't have lots of large sentiment dies, so I went digging through my stash. I found this old Love from Lizzie Winter Wishes die. I die cut that sentiment from a piece of Tim Holtz Metallic Jewels cardstock. Love that stuff. And I glued it in place. For some sparkle, I grabbed the snowflake sequins from the My Monthly Hero November 2022 kit, and I glued those to the centers of the snowflakes and all around the sentiment. Those sequins are extra shiny and give this card some terrific sparkle. Winter Wishes. Great stencil. Now, it does appear that the folks at Hero Arts have gone a little Peeking Critters crazy this season. They're a big feature in the Christmas release catalog, and this is the second month, where we've gotten peeking items in our kits. This is the little Peeking Critters stamp set from the premium kit. So for my next card, we've got a Thanks from All of Us card, using up all 4 of those Peeking Critters. We do have A1 envelopes in our kit, so I decided to make a thank you card sized to 3 1/2 by 4 7/8. This size card is most often used as an RSVP or reception card, so I thought a thank you card was right in line with that. I cut a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock to 2 1/2 inches square. I stamped our 4 peeping toms around the edges. I colored all of them with my Zig markers and used a white gel pen for some highlights and some texture. I added a 2 5/8 inch mat of white behind the colored panel and a 2 3/4 inch mat of black behind that. The thanks stamp is from a Lawn Fawn Big Scripty Words stamp set. And of course, From All of Us is from the My Monthly Hero October 2021 kit from All of Us. I stamped those both using intense black ink, and I glued the painted and matted panels flat to the card front. A few black little gems adds a touch of sparkle to this fun thank you card from All of Us. Now, as if the rub-on sentiments weren't enough from the classic kit, we also get a big batch of rub-on presents with the premium kit. I felt another pun coming on for our next card. We've got Deck the Hall. There's a good pun. So in order to carry out this big idea without wasting any of my rub-ons, I did decide to run a copy of the rub-on sheet, and then I just blockily cut out all of the presents from a little black and white copy of the rub-ons to assist me with arranging them on an A2 card front. These rub-ons actually give you a lot of flexibility in their arrangement. This stack of presents here is actually 2 single presents. I just cut the bow off of the top of this present and then stacked a shortened version of this present on top of that. So these peel-offs are really adjustable. Once I decided on an arrangement, I started rubbing on the presents on an A2 card front, left to right, bottom to top. It's really terrific, bright, cheerful, joyfully colored presents. I printed the sentiment on a scrap of white cardstock using my Silhouette software and the Dream State font in 22 points. I think that's a really... Joel and I came up with that when we were talking about presents, and he said hall. And I'm like, oh, deck the hall. I printed out that sentiment and then die cut it with a Lawn Fawn Everyday Sentiment Banners die. I glued that to the card front, added 2 sprigs of the rub-on holly to frame it out. Now, 17 gifts seems like quite a haul to me. I think the colors are so fun on this card, I decided that no sparkle was required. I did stamp the Happy Holidays to You on the inside to complete this card. Love that pun. Deck the hall. Now, I've actually used a little bit of everything in this kit, but we still have 2 cards to go. So in my never-ending quest to use every stamp in a stamp set, my eyes stopped at the horned owl, this horned owl stamp here. This stamp seems as if it was drawn by somebody other than whoever drew the other owls here. It looks a little cartoony. Well, let's embrace that and see what we come up with. And lo and behold, card number 9 is All You Need Is Love. Ba, 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 ba. All you need is love. There's another owl pun for you, using that little owl stamp as well. So I used a silicone mat and did a reverse stamping of that owl on the left here on some Bristol Smooth cardstock. I stamped her buddy normal stamping on her right and colored them both with some real fun colors from my Zig marker. I, of course, used a white gel pen to add some texture and highlights on those owls. I thought it would be fun if they were standing on the sentiment banner, so I created the Owl You Need Is Love sentiment using the owl stamp from the kit, and I printed the rest exactly like the Owl My Love card. I die cut that with another Lawn Fawn Everyday Sentiment border die. Yes, again, Arial rounded MT bowl. That's in 14 point. All you need is love. Wah, bah, 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 bah. I fussy cut the owls and I trimmed out their talons and their wings so that the banner would slip in behind that. When I got that all to fit right, I glued those together. I die cut a panel of white cardstock to 3 3/4 inches by 5 inches with a Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle die, and embossed that with an old Doris Diagonal Hearts embossing folder. Here it is right here, that old Doris Diagonal Hearts embossing folder. I glued that to a 4 by 5 1/4 inch mat of pink dotted cardstock and glued those to an A2 white card base. I die cut a heart from the same pink dotted pattern paper using a Hero Arts Nesting Hearts Infinity die, and I glued that onto the card front. I added the owls in the banner with foam tape, and I sprinkled in a few heart glitter pieces among the sentiment. A fun pun and a charming Valentine. All you need is love. Ba, 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 ba. Hoo, 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 hoo. I guess that was what it should be. Hoo, 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 hoo. Now, I do like using deco foil and transfer gel with stencils. Foiling. And I was interested in seeing how much of the snowflake stencil I could get on a normal A2 card, since it's a larger stencil than that. So I simply used the 2 long sides of the stencil on either side of a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of cardstock. I actually masked off the 2 side snowflakes on this and just dealt with the 2 pieces on either side of that. I ink blended the mist ink in the open one, and then I used a palette knife and my deco foil transfer gel through the second detail stencil to do my foiling. So I had to do half of that first. I did the deco foiling gel on this side, and then I let that dry. I covered that with a piece of paper, and then did the deco foiling gel on this side and let that dry, and then sent them both through my laminating machine with a silver shattered glass deco foil that came out spectacularly. And I did add a little ink blending around the edges of the card as well. I found this die cut sentiment in my stash, and I die cut it from a variety of mirrored and holographic cardstocks. I couldn't quite decide which one was best. I wanted something that would actually give me a bit of a rainbow reflection, just like that foil on the snowflakes. I ultimately decided on that holographic cardstock for the sentiment. I die cut that. I glued all of those sentiments together just for a nice chunky sentiment. Glued that down to the center. I matted that on another piece of holographic silver cardstock. Added some more of the snowflake sequins around that. Nice, sparkly, shiny. I do really like this card. Merry Christmas. A little foiling is always called for around the holidays. Yes? I'm not a big envelope decorator. I fear that too many of my cards end up in the trash, so I figure the chances are even better for most envelopes to end up in the trash. However, we did get a lot of envelopes in this kit, and those did inspire me to make some interesting sizes of cards this month. So I did do some simple envelope decorating for the envelopes provided. Of course, that washi tape is perfect to go along with this first card. Just on the flap is fine. It gives you a little hint of what's coming inside. My 5x7 envelope, I did do some stenciling on the front of that. And of course, the back of that is perfect for that teal colored wax seal sticker. Absolutely perfect on that. Nice little touch of snowflakes on the envelope. And then for our little thank you card, I did stamp a little polar bear on the front. Now, he's cute. I have to admit, this is very cute on the front of an envelope. Of course, our little thank you card fits inside that just perfectly. So I didn't ignore the envelopes completely. So that wraps up my 10 cards suggested by the My Monthly Hero November 2023 kits. Seems like I really got into some watercoloring and coloring this month. We even got some good puns here as well. I almost used every stamp in our 2 sets. There are just so many stamps in this kit. I used some of the washi sheets and one of the postage frame dies and some of the rub-on sentiments, a lot of the dies, some of the envelopes. Trust me, all of those envelopes will get used. And the critters and the stencils and the transfers and the inks. Interesting owl theme here. I don't think I have many owls in my stash. I really like that snowflake stencils and all of the rub-ons. We've got a good many holiday cards here and a couple of Valentines and even a thank you card and some good puns as well. These kits are still available at Hero Arts. Now, it looks like the Premium Elements option has sold out, but the kits are still available. If you like what I've done with this kit or have some ideas of your own, I would recommend grabbing a kit for yourself before they are all sold out. Please use my link in the description down below when you go shopping at Hero Arts. Thank you. It is always appreciated. Thanks so much for sharing some time with me here today. Your encouragement and support means the world to me. Please take some time to like me, list me, pin me, post me, share me with all of your friends and enemies. Remember, don't run with scissors. And as always, I send you and yours love and light, and happy Thanksgiving. For more detailed information and better pictures, please visit my website at cardcutups.com.